We came up with 52 ways. That's 52 weeks in a year. Not that you would necessarily do one a week or even, maybe one a month. You could do as many as you want. You can start with any category that you'd like to and just do something, really is what it's about. Just do something that makes sense for you and then come back and maybe do something again. And some of the tasks that we talk about are things that you might do one time and you're done. Some of them are more of a process, like we recommend reviewing, like insurance. So some things are periodic, some things are one time. Again, just do something, whatever makes sense to you.
The 2023 Fifth National Climate Assessment reports an increase in the severity, extent, and frequency of extreme weather events, which are putting American families at greater risk of climate-related incidents and the cascading effects they have on household finances. As a result, extension specialists from 9 universities worked collaboratively to develop a tool to help families lessen the adverse financial effects of climate-related risks. On today's Sound Living, 52 ways to climate-proof your finances. Sound Living is a weekly public affairs program produced by Research and Extension at Kansas State University. I'm Jeff Wichman. K-State Research and Extension Family Resource Management Specialist Elizabeth Kish, a co-author of the 52 Ways to Climate-Proof Your Finances publication, says the document contains 9 categories for people to review and identify which tasks make the most sense for their family. Elizabeth, you were part of a team that looked at 52 ways to climate-proof your finances, and this was really kind of a long project. You've been working on this for a while.
I have been working on this for a while with a group of colleagues from around the country. And what really got us started on it was we know that there's a relationship between even weather hazards and whatever's going on with the climate and our personal finances and how we manage our family resources. And so we decided to think about how can we help people see that connection.
And really by doing this, it's kind of an overview of your total finances within a household because you're looking at, like insurance, you're looking at how well prepared you are to face some of these emergencies in terms of do you have an emergency savings? So there's a lot of things that come into play here.
Right. And you're right. This is really not necessarily anything different than we might just talk about in general, but it is making that connection because there are some specific things that you might want to do definitely related to climate. For example, if it's time to replace your windows or energy efficiency with heating and cooling systems in your home, all of those things can also help you manage your resources when you use them.
Yeah, one of the categories that you've got in the toolkit is housing, and one of the things that it recommends is just doing an energy audit, which would tell you where some of those losses are occurring.
Right. And I mean, our energy companies offer this assistance with energy audits, and they've been doing it for a long time, but I think now is really a good time to think about it if you haven't done it recently. I mean, even if you have like an old refrigerator or an old water heater, we try to get as much life out of these things as possible, but the newer models, because they're more energy efficient, can actually save us operating costs. We would spend less on operating costs with the newer models.
We're seeing that with a lot of the thermostats as well. And energy companies are also offering some peak times and things like that where you can get some credits back.
Right. They're helping us because it helps them manage the grid, right? If we are willing to, for example, with peak air conditioning time, if we're willing to set our temperatures up a bit higher so we use less during the afternoon and early evening when it's very warm, and that's when businesses are very active, right? And we're not home. If we're not home, we can do that.
You mentioned tax rebates and things like that, and if something should go wrong this summer with your air conditioner, it would be worth looking in to see if there are some rebates offered.
Right. There may be some state programs. There may be some federal programs. There may be some manufacturers' programs. And often, especially with air conditioning and heating, the companies that are selling them typically know about that because it's a selling point for them, too.
A lot of times with the housing, it's really not a major impact on the budget for some of these things. Weather stripping, caulking, changing out the filters regularly, things like that.
And we should all change our filters. I think it's once a month, right? Do we do that? I'm not sure. And if you have a cat or a dog or multiple animals in the house, then it definitely can make a difference. And things run more efficiently, and then that will, cost less on the daily energy costs.
In terms of preparedness, I know we talk about this a lot because we're in Kansas and we think of not only tornadoes, but a lot of severe weather, flooding as well. This kind of boils down to just making sure that you've got a lot of your household things in order.
Right. So when we think about preparedness because of weather hazards, again, we had winter weather hazards. We have, as you said, flooding, thunderstorms, tornadoes, but also heat is one that we're really becoming more aware of, which doesn't mean we haven't had high heat before, but I think we're all just more aware of it. The preparedness part of it, though, for extreme weather events can really help us maybe have less anxiety. If we feel like we've done a few things, we might be ready. I mean, still, I get anxious and when I get ready and I grab my stuff. So what we really recommend is, create a plan with your family, a communication plan, know how you're going to reach each other. If you're not together, know where your meeting points are or who is going to be the intermediary communication point. Get you some supplies ready. The expectation is that we can, especially for like thunderstorms or power outages, maybe not in the winter, but in the summer, we can survive or at least, be kind of self-sufficient for about 72 hours, I think. So that's water, a gallon of water a day, I believe is a recommendation for everyone and every pet in the household. And make sure you have your medications, have some food that, maybe doesn't need to be heated up. Make sure you have a way to open the food, right? If you use an electric can opener, you probably want to have a manual one as well. Those kind of things. But also subscribe to the emergency alerts. FEMA has a good one. Red Cross has a good one. Many of our TV stations now, the weather, they have apps, they have alerts. They might have a system where they'll call you, which can be really helpful because, weather doesn't rest. Weather doesn't go to sleep at night just because we do, right? So we need to have ways to stay safe at night as well. So another part of preparedness is we want to be prepared ahead of time, but then if we need to recover, if something happens and we need to make a claim against our insurance or we need to hire contractors, then definitely, review how to avoid scams in those instances. Be a good consumer, get more than one estimate, follow the instructions from your insurance company, always document everything, take pictures, before you maybe start cleaning up, and then find out, what you can do from your insurance company in terms of immediate cleanup versus what you might have to wait on until they come out and take a look.
And we want to make sure that those papers are together and somewhere safe.
Right. So you want to have your grab-and-go box that has your important papers in it. And, we keep a lot of things in the cloud, and that's great as a backup. But some things, when the power's out, you really want to have paper. And so, think about the most important things are probably, how to contact your healthcare providers if something happened and you were injured, your insurance companies, how to access your bank accounts, even though if the power's out, you're also going to want to have some cash on hand. So we still need things in hand. And then the bigger things can be on the cloud. And, because when something like that happens, we're likely to use our phones. So think about external batteries. And for me, my practice is if the weather's looking bad, and definitely if alerts start firing up, make sure I'm charging or have charged all my technology so it starts out with a full charge so that at least I have that.
You mentioned the fact that sometimes when the power goes out, we run into issues with food. There's a lot of things that come into play when we talk about food because that's kind of a waste that we can't avoid. But there are times we're creating some food waste that we could prevent.
Right. So when we think about climate proofing our finances or even just extending our resources, right? Food is an area where Americans waste a lot of food. And so you want to buy at good prices what you can use up in a reasonable amount of time. It doesn't do any good to get a reduced price on something if you don't end up eating it and you just end up throwing it away. You've thrown that money away. So there's, know you're buying and buy what you need that you can use in a reasonable time. And then if you're cooking or if you're opening something, use that up within a reasonable time. Store it correctly in the refrigerator, put it in the freezer, but then use it up, because otherwise we just throw it out. And especially when you're buying like fresh produce. I mean, we're coming into the time of year when it's great. We're going to have farmers markets. We're going to have gardens. We can buy fresh produce, which means that we may not have to, or we may choose not to buy produce that's traveled from a far distance, right? Which is also very helpful to the environment because we don't have those food transportation miles.
Yeah, that's another thing, is transportation is another area where we could maybe make some changes.
Right. So when it comes to transportation, and we've talked about this, what can you do to increase your gas mileage is really what it's about in a lot of ways. So make sure your tires are inflated, drive the speed limit, use cruise control, don't use air conditioning unless you're like going above 45, I think is the recommendation that I learned. Close your windows if you're going above 45, but 45 or below, maybe you can keep your windows open and not use your air conditioning. Get the, recommended tune-ups, oil changes, all those things for your vehicle. And then also when we have like air quality days, especially in cities, there's times of day when they recommend don't refuel if you don't have to because it creates more problems with air quality.
Yeah, we've been having some air quality issues lately because of all of the wildfires and everything else, and that creates some, I guess, health hazards as well.
It can create health hazards. So I think that's another reason to look at your indoor air quality, and many new houses are so tight that the indoor air quality, because everything just stays in the house, I mean, I think there's some recommended amount of permeability, but when the outdoor air quality is not good, or if your health may be compromised by it, then you really need to take care of your indoor air quality.
This worksheet that has been developed really walks people through the whole process, right?
Right. So we developed this tool, our multi-state group, and we came up with 52 ways. That's 52 weeks in a year. And so we thought not that you would necessarily do one a week or even, maybe one a month. You could do as many as you want. You can start with any category that you'd like to, and just do something, really is what it's about. Just do something that makes sense for you, and then come back and maybe do something again. And some of the tasks that we talk about are things that you might do one time and you're done. Some of them are more of a process, like we recommend reviewing, like insurance. Right? We say regularly review your insurance. What does that mean? Probably once a year, but most of us might not do it once a year. But if you do it every other year, or if you get a new car or a new vehicle, that's an excellent time to review your auto coverage, right? Or if you move houses, you want to make sure you're up on your homeowner's insurance. So some things are periodic, some things are one time. Again, just do something, whatever makes sense to you. So like, for example, we have a category on clothes, shoes, and laundry. And, if we acquire and care for our clothes carefully, be deliberate about what you buy, and maybe buy the best quality that you can afford and plan to keep it, and then take care of it, right? Another thing we can do is just think about the amount of clothes we need. Do we need all the clothes we have? Can we shop our closets, as we say? So there's that. And then also how we take care of them. Do we need to use the dryer all the time? Can we air dry? I know a lot of people, so for example, my stepfather, one of his things is, we all have our things, right? One of his things is he air dries his clothes, right? So he'll use the washing machine, but he air dries his clothes. And that's one of his contributions to the environment and probably their energy costs too. So, just think about that. It's like buy less, keep it longer, take care of it, air dry things.
I think the nice thing about this is it really starts kind of an internal communication with yourself. What can I do? Little small things that would make a difference over time.
Right. And that's what so much of resource management and money management is, again, and we've talked about this before, the grand gestures are wonderful, but it's really how we live our lives every day. And those are small, discrete choices that we make on a regular basis that can really make a difference.
That's K-State Research and Extension Family Resource Management Specialist Elizabeth Kish with information on 52 ways to climate-proof your finances. The publication is available on the Eden Extension Disaster Education Network website. To learn more about managing family finances, contact your county or district extension office. Sound Living is a weekly public affairs program produced by Research and Extension at Kansas State University. I'm Jeff Wichman, and this is the K-State Radio Network.